Hugh and Hugo ended up kind of like atom smashed together, kind of like pretty early on. And it's one of those pairings where you see a lot of people early in their career, the people they commentate with, like at the start, very much not who they're commentating with once they've ascended into tier one events. But you and Hugo kind of like came up together. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that relationship. Like, did you know each other before? Was it like just completely like at random? Because you guys are like different backgrounds and different personalities, sure, but same age.
Yeah.
Same country, seem to have
a
similar sense of humor and like similar in a lot of ways like that. So what happened?
Yeah, it's dude, it's so wild. Like whenever I think about it. So when I was first getting started, like, I've mentioned this fucking portfolio so many times now, man, but like I have my little selection of videos, and Hugo worked for this company called 27 in 1, which I'm sure you'll remember, right? Yeah. And so I'm pretty sure the owner had just finished doing a classic, dump the business's bank accounts into his bank account and fuck off out of there. I think that's what had happened, because Hugo had put out a tweet saying that like they needed casters, right? And Hugo was like the guy entrusted with collecting all the VODs and like watching it. He was only young. I was surprised that he had this much responsibility, and like knowing Hugo now as well, it still surprises me that he had that much responsibility. But he was the guy like entrusted to watch all these VODs, and I'd been wanting to cast for a long while at this point. This was before Insomnia. This was before any like official stuff. I'd done this one little online. It was for like MGEs, like it was for literal like matchmaking players. That sounds awful. Like I really hate them or something, but you know what I mean. And so I send him like all these VODs, and then Hugo gets back to me and says like, yeah, guy who runs the company took all the money and ran. So actually, we won't be hiring you. And that looked like it was going to be the end. But then Hugo messaged me like a week later, and he was like, yo, so I went through, I watched your VODs. He said, actually, I think like, you sound all right. And he was like, so do you, all right. He said like, you sound good. He was very nice. And he asked me if I wanted to do this
control.
Online.
You're all right, you'll do.
Yeah. You're all right, yeah. Bring him in. Play. All right then, boys. Yeah, get him on the show.
Don't
like,
mind that
the
UK
cast
in the back.
Going down.
Just sit down, Harry. Don't know why we've done Hugo like that.
But so yeah, I know. Yeah, he asked me to do this Game Agents online. I do this Game Agents event with Hugo, and it all goes well. And we do some more online stuff. Then actually we get introduced through doing ESCA Premier, right, and like MDL. I know that you've cast some of them as well, so you're familiar with like the process. You show up, you do a few hours of ESCA. We were doing that, and that was when we got introduced to Connor as well. So like originally the cast was me, Hugo, and Scrawny would like play together a lot, and also Tom Biz was on there. Now he's like doing Valorant, so it's kind of like weird because the four of us were all like very good mates. We would hang out all the time. Like I was back in uni while this was happening, and we were just casting, like swapping around between the four of us. And now like all of these individual people have gone on to do really well as well. Like you look at Scrawny and Launders, I think one of the best duos in CS right now. Then like Tom and Mitch going to Valorant, that's sick. But then for me and Hugo, we originally weren't, casting together like full time. That was only something that happened a little like later on. We were just good mates, and he was actually casting with Connor while Launders was let me think. I'm pretty sure he was like stuck in America because of some visa situation. It was back when he was employed with Yahoo. Yeah. And so that was like a whole thing, right? That kind of like put a bit of a hold on Connor and Launders getting to do their stuff together. So it was Scrawny and Hugo casting for a while. And while that was happening, I was casting with Risk, who you know very well, Rich.
I've certainly ripped his trousers off, yeah. Certainly.
And so, yeah, I was casting with I was casting with Rizek, and Hugo and Connor were off casting together, and then like we had this big like shuffling of the guard, like we had like a date in place of when it was going to happen and everything, and it's like Hugo comes and casts with me, Risk goes to Danish television, and then Connor and Launders get to be together. It felt like a reality TV show, man. Like we all kind of paired off together. and then we just started to try and do stuff like the two of us. I think it really began when like we started to get like a bit more consistency out of like DreamHack and ESL. I think they were really the big two that started to like bring us in a lot. ESL would get us to do the pro leagues. Like normally we'd be doing the NA games, we'd be doing like the night shifts there, and then we got to do pro league finals. The first one, like I say that we didn't. We did just playoffs, like semis, and then the second one they let us do the finals, which was unreal, and it's like still one of my fondest memories till this day, because it was doing a grand final in front of a crowd with Hugo, so that was one of the coolest things ever. But yeah, it's pretty like unique path. People always say like, oh, it seems like Harry and Hugo are actually friends, and it's like, yeah, bro, like he's probably my best friend. Like this guy, like we hang out all the time. Every day, like I was living at his house from the beginning of this year all the way up until 2 weeks ago. I moved out, so I basically spent 7 months at Hugo's to open up the year. All last year, we lived together in a house in Germany to do all the shows for ESL there. That's like one of my favorite things about casting, is that me and him just show up and like have a good time talking about CS, and that's exactly what I would want. Like I couldn't imagine doing this job if I didn't have someone I was like as much of a good friend with, like on the inside, who like also relates to a lot of the things that maybe people don't see that happen, like behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting watching you two work, because there is like a synergy there. And that's one of the things I think, like, I never really liked the idea of duos. I think it's kind of limiting from a job perspective and a broadcast perspective. It doesn't really happen a lot in mainstream sports. You'll have one commentator that carries the broadcast, and they'll give them like a secondary analyst, a color commentator, someone to work with. But it's very rarely the same two people. Usually you have a marquee commentator and then somebody else, and sometimes it can be the same dude over a period of time. That's definitely happened, but a lot of the time it's mixed up, keeps things fresh. People have other commitments and stuff, so I've always been a bit wary about it, because it can give you great things, and it can also be limiting from a broadcast perspective. But like, out of all the pairings I've seen that have like a genuine synergy, like I don't know if the bits you're doing are like natural and they just come out, but there seems to be almost like you guys are like immediately on the same wavelength, like when you have that back and forth.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. Like one of the ways that Hugo like really emphasizes this to me, that like we spend too much time together, is his favorite, and I hate him for this, is his favorite thing to do, like while I'm casting, while I'm talking, is he will start to mouth the words that I'm about to say to me while I'm like describing what's happening, and it terrifies me, because like sometimes I'll be purposefully like trying to mix up where I'm going just to throw him off, because he's like trying to troll me while we're doing these like summit games, for example, where it's like the four of us all talking. And he'll just do it just because he knows it kills me, and it like makes me laugh, man, and it's so off-putting. And it's scary how good he is at doing it. Like the synergy that we have, man, it's definitely built up. Like it never used to feel like this easy, right? Like there would be times where, like early on, right, we employed like a kind of like hand signal system to like, if you wanted to like let there be some dead air, for example, you'd kind of do like this motion, right? It's like shh. Right. If you wanted to like pick something up, or you needed to come in with a point, with like signal with our hands to like try and speed the other guy up. But we very quickly moved away from that, because we kind of realized that actually like we have like a bit of a feeling as to where the other one's going, like what they're leaning into, what they want to talk about, and like a lot of the time I'll know the thing that Hugo has like noticed in the round that he wants to like nerd out and break down. I'll already know what that is from like the moment he sees it, just from how like he'll like change how he's sitting, and suddenly he like looks like he wants to start talking, and I'm like, he's got a point, like I'll give it over to him now. And just like little things like that's stuff that I think you can only have through duoing, right? Like I've got to work with a lot of brilliant commentators, but nothing can replace that like level of familiarity that I have with Hugo. I think it helps us, just kind of riff off of one another so well.
I let you off once before, but you still got the come back here and make trouble again. Eh?
Yes, children. What does it all mean?